Are we ready, gentlemen?
Oh, God.
Wart.
Welcome, everybody. In case you didn't understand, that's a welcome to the Tougies Take podcast. We are back again for your, at least in the summertime, weekly dose of hockey talk that's actually rarely about hockey, except for a day like today. Gentlemen, it finally happened. Erik Karlsson has been traded, and we will get to all of that discourse and conversation, the reactions, our personal reactions and thoughts to that deal. But before then, we have a few things to some business to handle. And the most important thing on the docket is to say, Sin for the win. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's it's been a good week. I got my new computer. Some family and matters were taken care of and handled. And the saga is over. The time is nigh. But the time will never be nigh again.
Well, it won't be Matthew Nye, at least.
And then until he comes back to San Jose and they talk, the time is nigh. You return to Santa and he walks out of the interview.
Endo Mills, how are you?
I'm good. Just like this photo that I found from a friend who gave me from high school. I'm great.
That is oddly disturbing.
Yes, it's great.
Is he reaching into his cut open belly?
I don't know. It's just kind of vibing, dude. Look at him.
Oh, that's his fingers. I thought his hand was going into a slit that was in his belly.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, what's he keeping there, man?
Yeah, secrets. I'll never know because I haven't been able to contact the person who.
What do you keep in your abdominal pouch?
I was going to say, yeah.
You know what would you keep? Yeah, how about, Endo, what would you keep in your abdominal pouch?
Chicken nuggets.
That tracks. Yeah. That tracks. Tougie, what would you keep in your abdominal pouch?
What do you mean by that?
Oh, my God. What would I keep in an abdominal pouch? God. So, ranch. It would be my own personal ranch pocket.
That's pretty good. It's like that dude with the Tabasco holster. I keep that motherfucking thing on me. Oh my God.
Oh, Sin, what would you keep in your abdominal pouch?
Yeah, I don't know. The tears of my enemies.
It would be a very moist pouch.
Yeah. Oh, I'd keep my Joey in there. I'll just adopt a kangaroo.
Oh, God. Can you imagine? Like, just having your own kangaroo, but then also having the pouch so that you think that it thinks that you're a mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking marsupials are weird, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, we can't be a mammal or a reptile. Let's go in between.
Oh, well, this show's already out of control. Perfect. That first question came from one Sim for the win, and we'll get some more questions here. Very, very. Did Endo even answer how he's doing? I don't think he did.
No one cares. He's keeping chicken nuggets in his abdominal pouch. That's how he's doing.
I'm doing great.
He's great. That's what kicked it off.
Yeah. Found places that I possibly be living at, which is great. So don't dox me. Which explains why everything's a fucking mess and there's no wall. My wall's falling apart at the same time at the seams. Everything's a disaster, but it's also good because I'm great.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You'll still get your security deposit back.
Yay!
I don't think he sensed the sarcasm, Sin.
No one gets their. That's the thing. No one gets their security deposit back. Doesn't matter.
We actually have one.
Fuck landlords.
We rented through a friend, so we just get this month free regardless. So no security deposit, no nothing.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, very nice. Now I have to deal with not getting a security deposit next time. So yay! Oh boy.
Delightful. I'm doing pretty good myself. Just to answer the question. It's a busy week up ahead. A little bit of travel. I still got to be vague about it because I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. But
oh, okay. I won't make a joke then.
Yeah. I haven't. I haven't gotten an answer to that question of, hey, can I talk about this? So for now, incredibly vague. Business is on deck. That's all you got to know for now. So we We won't be streaming too much this week, and it's also why we're recording this podcast on Sunday, because I will be gone pretty much until next weekend, and that is way, way too far down the road to be able to talk about the Erik Karlsson trade and such. But it's been a good few days, too. We had the charity stream on Friday, raised over $1,000 for Hope for the Day. HFTD.org for more information there. Again, lovely charity. I'll give them the free promotion because I should. I don't know if since webcam is frozen, we'll find out in a second. But it is a lovely charity. Again, mental health based, making care and information as accessible as possible. And again, we raised over $1,000 on pretty short notice. I know it's amazing what it froze on his face for. All right, we'll see what happens there. But regardless, it was a great time. Endo, you and I had a fucking blast on that particular stream, and it was a good time.
It was a lot of fun.
It's the record time, Sin, for you to have issues. 2 minutes. You say you're great. Your ISP. It's like, oh, are you? God, but yeah, just in case I didn't have the audio from before, again, we had a charity stream on Friday. It was great. We had a good time. Had a blast, and it was a good way to as a send off for a week away. But again, like I said, we needed to record today. Endo, you all right?
Crash 135 just said I just tapped on your ass.
So we did Friendo Fight Night, which last year we had done it where a bunch of friends, community wise, filled out like basic information to get a custom character in a game. Last year it was Fight Night Champion, a boxing game, and we'd watch the AI fights head to head to see who would win. This year we did it on arguably the best MMA game ever made, UFC Undisputed 3, and Crash Andrews, up until the final, was the only person to lose by submission, and he also lost in the quickest amount of time, 1 minute and 35 seconds. There were knockouts that took place in the first round that didn't happen as fast as he was submitted. Made my day. The VOD's up as well, and then I don't know if Endo was still planning on doing like a little highlight pack for that. If you end up with the time,
I need to see how Pekka Karvanen went down, man. I'm pissed that he went down in round one. That's bullshit.
It's funny, we called it. The joke was, this is what Sin sees when he looks in the mirror. Just a 41-year-old Finnish man. Throw down. Oh, God. So, yeah, the VOD should still be up, twitch.tv/Tougie24 for those who missed it. It was a two-parter, but a great, great time on Friday. With that, we will look to get to some viewer questions because we have some, and there are some doozies in here. But before that, of course, as always, we need to mention that this podcast is brought to you by our lovely friends at Manscaped.com, who want to remind you, of course, that they do, in fact, have the best tools for the job, and you can get 20% off your order and free shipping when you use code Tougie. That's Tougie at Manscaped.com. And in general, their summer sale is currently ongoing, a very similar deal. So no matter what, you are getting as good of a deal as you could hope for. Of course, they have everything that you need. We've talked about the Beard Hedger Pro Kit, the Performance Package 4.0 for, everything that you need. They got you covered. If there is hair somewhere, they can handle it. Rest assured. Manscaped.com, code Tougie. You know the deal by this point. We thank Manscaped for sticking with us through these lovely summer months. Our first question comes from FBI agent number 42069. Dr. Pepper or Pib Extra? Which is better, and why is it Pib Extra?
First of all, I didn't know Elon Musk listened to this podcast. Second of all, he would have a take that Mr. Pibb is better than Dr. Pepper.
I don't think I've ever seen, let alone consumed, Pib. Which is just
I've had
terrible name for a soda.
It's just knockoff Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper's better.
Like, if I'm going for knockoff Dr. Pepper, we're going for Dr. Thunder, okay? That's the only way.
Really, not Dr. Skipper? That was like the Safeway or Vaughn's, wherever you live, knockoff version of Dr. Pepper. I can't remember where I used to get Mr. Pibb. I want to say it was at like Burger King because they had the rights to one of the big companies that couldn't do
Right.
Dr. Pepper because they were owned by someone else. So that's where I had Mr. Pibb. I haven't had it in a long time, I'll be honest, but I'm just gonna go with Dr. Pepper.
Fair enough. I would also go with Dr. Pepper because
Yeah, Dr. Pep all around. You can't beat the classic. Come on.
Yeah.
it's
It's
just
the drink of agnostics everywhere.
Praise Bill. Praise Bill.
Is it cola? Is it root beer? No one. Sorry, South Park reference for those of you who don't know.
From and again, if you want to get your questions in for a future episode of the podcast, the link to the Discord is in the description, whether or not you are listening or watching this particular episode. Our next question comes from Dipshit Supreme. Does Mike Wazowski twerk or nod?
Oh my god, that's so stupid. Both.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yes is the answer. Yes.
Has it been confirmed that he has a butt?
He's the whole ass himself.
Well, that's the thing,
He's-
though. Like, is
he's
it
white.
canon? Like, if I Google Mike Wazowski cheeks,
Don't do it.
You're gonna get some really fucked
Yeah.
up fetish stuff, man.
Oh
then-
man.
And then
He's got,
every single ad you get is gonna be.
he's got a real Hank Hill thing going on. So
Oh,
that's a thing. So I don't know, but that's the thing, though. Is that canon or is that just, like, have they confirmed in the movies that he has a ass? Because if he does not have a ass, how can you twerk without a ass?
Ask white people.
Got him.
Many a white girl have tried. So
And none
guess
have
that's the answer.
succeeded.
I guess that's the answer, isn't it? Oh God! So I'm gonna go with the twerks then. I'm gonna go with it
He tries.
because you can nod without twerking, even if you're Mike Wazowski.
So you're going with
But you
twerk?
You can't twerk without nodding if you're him. I need to know. I need to know from a Monsters Inc. specialist. Has it been confirmed in movie that Mike Wazowski has an ass? Because if he does, the answer's twerk. Great question.
Yeah, you've lost me here. You've lost me 100%.
Okay, here we go. Gee, what the fuck are these questions? People are wild on a Sunday. From Reds Rebel. How do you feel about the gross economic differences between third world nations and GDP producing powerhouses? Should the powerhouses be expected to help the third world?
I got a very long answer for this, so if any of you guys want to...
Go ahead.
shut
I
one out.
We got
took the lead
time.
on whether or not a Monsters Inc. character has an ass. So
Okay. Well, the gross economic differences between third world, first world, and, well, I guess you're going to say GDP producing powerhouses. The thing about the GDP producing powerhouses are they're all built off of colonialism. So
Yeah.
if you look at a continent like Africa, not even every single one of those nations is essentially a gold mine of natural resources. Africa could be like the European Union is, all the countries united as one, and they would be probably rival the EU, if not completely surpass it, simply because the EU, many countries in there have practiced colonialisms. French, well, England's gone now, but the French are the big ones, Dutch, etc., so forth. So here's the thing, like, there's going to be people who say, no, they shouldn't help them. That's the thing. They wouldn't need help had they not been victims of colonialism, as well as still currently. They still are. Our nation, France, European nations, they're all still in Africa, stripping them of resources. Look at fucking Elon Musk has how many goddamn whatever. What is that crap that he uses for his batteries? It's the
I know what you're thinking.
cobalt? I want to say it's cobalt.
Yeah.
He's got the cobalt mines there. I mean, if we stop fucking around there, let them get governments without destabilizing them, they would be able to trade, and then all that money would, instead of going into the pockets of the rich here and the 1% elsewhere, it would go back into the country, and then they could reinvest. They could become more industrialized. They could become more modern. They could, and again, you get rid of poverty and things like that, then there's less crime. But you got to think that's people don't want that. The rich
Yeah,
people,
it's not-
they want their easy
fun.
money still. They don't want an Africa united, an Africa that has an equal voice as other places. Now it's partially racism and partially greed, but yeah.
Sim for the win, everybody.
So if you want to combine all that together into what I think it is, it's just reparations.
Endo Mills, everybody.
And Endo Turner, baby, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with anything you said. Basically, it is what it comes down to is the idea. It's like, and obviously it's not a thing exclusive to Africa. Like you talk about the really cheap labor that you still see in the likes of Cambodia and you know that part of the world. Like that's just what it is the idea of it is for a very long time, if not ever, has it been a level playing field, at least in modern times, and it won't be, because there is money to be made off of the backs of the less fortunate, who were continually pushed to be less fortunate based on the systems that are in place.
Yep.
You nailed it. From Scroopy Noopers, question for the podcast: have any of you read the book Ready Player One? If you could play in the Oasis, what would your spacecraft? What would be your primary weapon, and what would your personal AI assistant be? You could choose from any pre-existing media, books, games, movies, etc.
Now, can you choose all the gear from any pre-existing books, games, and movies?
I think you just run with it, because I have no idea. I am aware of this book and that there was a film made. I have no goddamn clue about
Me neither.
this.
But
universe.
I'm guessing if you could choose anything, oh man. Well, primary weapon, huh? All right. Well,
Halo 2 battle rifle.
that's a pretty good one. But I would go my primary weapon. I'm gonna do a weapon set. I'm going with actually, yeah, I'm gonna get the BR from Halo. Because that's
Damn
epic.
right. Energy sword.
I would, for like a sidearm thing or a close combat weapon, I'd go with a heavy thunder hammer from Warhammer 40k, along with Artificer armor. And my personal AI assistant would, of course, be Cortana.
I don't really have an answer for this, because I mean, unless it is literally just like, hey, take whatever.
I'm guessing because
Cool
it's like a name. Like, I don't know. Like you could just combine the gaming universes. I guess that's maybe what the Oasis is. I don't know.
Right.
So
Well, you said-
think of it's like VR chat. It's just like bring it down to its bare concepts. You can anything and everything of video games is all it's a multiverse of some sorts.
Sweet. Then yeah.
Yeah. So every
what I'm
game,
going
IP, media, television series, or whatever is all in one hub, and you can grab different aspects from different areas of video games, media, or wherever.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
That is a tough one.
Get the fucking Millennium Falcon.
Can I just be Kratos?
There you go.
Just
You
let me
can.
be Kratos.
Boy.
Yeah, specifically old man Kratos. I'm good with that.
Father Kratos.
That would. Oh no. So in case people haven't played the two most recent God of Wars, I want to be Thor as represented in the two most recent God of Wars, where he is just a fat drunk. Because I absolutely, like, I adore those games so much, and to go from, you know, what Thor was at the beginning of the 2010s with Chris Hemsworth being the face of that character for the Marvel franchise, to going to God of War and seeing just drunk, out of shape, depressed Thor. It still is just, it's so goddamn funny.
Mythologically accurate Thor. Just right there. Just fuck. Hit everything.
Beautiful. Just constantly drunk. Not that I'm a fan of being constantly drunk, but just the appearance of fat Thor, of just like, oh, look at this lazy piece of shit. And it's like, well, meanwhile, it's Thor.
He's just like me, for real.
This is actually a good segue from Bud Knight. What's the one game that you really want to play but you don't have time for?
That's a good question.
There's a lot. Like, especially this year. Like, I still... Like, I wanted to play the new Diablo, and I'm like, there's no fucking way I have time for this.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people talking about Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
man.
going to be mine. Like, I don't know if
Fuck
I have the
the
time, but I
bear.
might have to make the time because I've never played one of those games. I have no idea what it is, but it looks fantasy, and I like fantasy, so I'm
Oh my
sure I would
God.
enjoy it. But yeah, it's just like,
I still
Yeah.
haven't gotten around to playing the new Star Wars Jedi game, even though I adored the first one from a couple years ago. It's been tough, you know. And I mean, I'll be honest, like, you know, 5 years ago, it used to be like, oh, cool, whatever. Like, I would stream, I'd have time to record stuff when I was single, you know. And
Damn
I
your
don't,
fiance.
I don't blame her at all, but it's just a fact. Like, what would have been like, well, what else am I gonna do? Like, you know, it's all right, cool. Like, you know, basically, it's replaced the time that I would have had to play those games with, you know, spending time with my fiance, watching TV, whatever. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm struggling to find the time, and I would normally play those type of games on stream, but I just haven't really had the desire to do so lately because I feel like for so many of those big games, people either A, want to experience them themselves, or B, already have that kind of content creator that they go to and watch for that specific content.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, well, here's a guy that plays franchise mode. Okay, so he's my guy for franchise mode, but then if I want to watch the most recent AAA game that's come out, like I watched the Rad Brad on YouTube or something, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a huge goddamn list. I mean, and we're not even talking more recent games. Like, I have this big cabinet of games from the past 4 different console generations, and there's a lot of older games I want to go back and play, and I'm like, when the hell am I going to have the time for this? I don't.
Yeah.
Now I'm sad. And you got an answer for this one?
Go to Sin because I'm still trying to figure out like what game it would be.
I kind of had the same. I have like Baldur's Gate 3. Like that's definitely the one that stands out most to me. You know, another one, 7 Days to Die. I know it's not maybe new, but like it's cool. It sounds really cool, like a survival zombie game. And like I've loved every single zombie game, pretty much, like Left 4 Dead, Dying Light. I actually never played the new Dying Light.
No,
I heard bad things in the beginning, and then just never got around to playing it. But the first one was great.
I enjoyed the first one too.
Just parkouring everywhere and making your weapons and just smacking dudes in the head. Like that's so neat.
Like
It's
the
such a
most
good
recent,
concept.
the most recent Dead Island as well. Haven't got to play that. I enjoyed. The
I've
first
only
one.
played the first Dead Island. There's another one.
Yeah, the new one
Dead
came out this
Island-
year after like 10 years in developmental hell. It
I
came
thought
out
it was
earlier
the
this
same
year.
company that made Dying Light because they were so similar.
Well, so the company that made Dying Light was the company that made the first Dead Island.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So they transitioned from kind of one IP to making their own thing, essentially, as far as I understand it. I will say, because you were talking about like zombie survival, State of Decay. I
Never
think
played that.
Ooh.
I don't think I
mean-
have. At least let me check it. That's not
So
the old one where like you're in a mall and everything was a weapon.
No,
it's
That's
that
Dead
was
Island. No, that's fucking Dead Rising. There you
Dead
go.
Rising.
I
Yeah, so
played that.
State of Decay is
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's like that open world one. I saw some like early access footage. It
Yeah.
looked incredible, but then
So the more people you have, the more fun it is, and I'm pretty sure State of Decay 2 is available
it's
on
multiplayer.
on game. Yes, it is multiplayer. There was a day that like Monk, Endo, and I started to play it because I didn't know what else to play. Like one night on stream. I think, Sin, if we were to play this, we would have a fucking blast.
Oh, I love zombie
cool.
games, and especially when you're co-oping. Like my favorite thing was playing Left 4 Dead 2 with like my friend.
Yeah, this the State of Decay in particular is literally about, you know, scavenging for resources, building up your community, surviving zombies.
You can build
There's
a community.
permadeath.
Nice.
Permadeath for characters. So if you
Mhm.
a character dies, you
have to make a
switch
new one?
You switch to a character within your community.
Oh,
And
And then
that's
you can
dope.
pick up you can
Yeah.
pick up
So
like,
there's
their-
consequences. I like that.
Yeah. So so for example, like you die, you could go with someone else, and then like you have to like fight off your own dead body from before because it might be souped up a little bit.
Yeah.
So like you can go
so
pick
your
up your
dead
own stuff
body
again.
becomes a zombie.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Why the fuck are we playing this? We should do this.
We're gonna have to play this.
Is it on what is it? Do you guys play on Steam or is it an Xbox thing?
I mean, it is on Steam. I'm looking at it. It's like $14 on Steam right now. At least the first one is. I don't know what the second one was,
But is it
I'm
on
pretty
Game
sure.
Pass?
I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you can just download the most recent one. And
Okay.
yeah, I think I think we just found a great idea.
There's a second one now? Huh.
Yeah, the second one came out a couple years ago. So
Juggernaut edition. Let's go.
well, congrats to Bud Knight for setting us up for future content because I think we have to do
That sounds super epic. Like, yeah.
So look forward to some State of Decay 2
build a fucking castle.
gameplay from the boy. Now I'm mad I'm leaving because I would start this like tonight because we have like a week before Madden comes out and it would be plenty of time to play it. Son of a bitch.
How about fuck Madden and we just do all stated? No, just kidding.
Offline
well,
streams.
I think we could still find time though, even if it's off stream, to fucking grind out some State of Decay 2. I think it'd be
So down.
a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Final question from Bouncy McBoink Boink. What's a hockey moment that brought a tear to your eye, good or bad?
I was at Game 7 versus the Blues when the Sharks advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in history. That was, I was there with my dad, and it was like, we had both been going to games for maybe nearly 2 decades at that point. Like my first game, I feel like I was like 6 or 7. And yeah, they made it to the Cup Finals in 2016. So it'd been like 2 decades of watching the Sharks and going to the Sharks game. And we both got to experience them advancing to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in history.
Endo, what Leafs collapse are you bringing up?
The one on my birthday. The first one. I think it was May 13th. Yeah, it was obviously May 13th, but I think it was 2010. 2010 or 20... No, 2013. 2013, the Maple Leaf meltdown. I can't remember. I don't want to remember half the time. They just blew it, 5 goals. Yeah. Don't remind me.
The 2015 NHL draft. Because we have to mention it.
2015 draft mentioned.
Let's go.
There you go. We had to get it out of the way early. Jesus Christ. With that, we'll thank everybody for the questions. And speaking of bringing a tear to the eye, I cried tears of joy today because, ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened. Erik Karlsson is no more. Well, he's still alive, but he is now he is traded in his role of apex predator for Waddly thing.
Waddly thick boy.
Erik Karlsson has been traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is a 3-team trade also involving the Montreal Canadiens, which now that we know it's a 3-team trade, and not only that, it's a loaded 3-team trade.
Some big names from like 3 years ago getting bounced around.
Yeah.
Fucking Dubas Masterclass. Holy shit.
So the details of this are insane because this might be the biggest 3-team trade I've ever seen, just in terms of the amount of pieces moving.
Yeah.
I think the best way to handle this is to probably go team by team and how we view this deal for each team. So I'm going to go with the team that's first alphabetically, and more importantly is the big surprising factor in this one. I don't know if anyone had this team being involved, but the Montreal Canadiens, who in this trade reacquire Jeff Petrie on 25% retained salary. So Pittsburgh retains 25% on Jeff Petrie, which is just under $1.6 million. So it's Jeff Petrie to the Habs, making $4.7 million for this year and next. And it's worth noting, he had a no movement clause and elected to be a part of this, which is very interesting to me. But he goes back to Montreal after a season in Pittsburgh. Of course, before that, he had spent 8 years or so in Montreal. So he had been there for a while. They also pick up goaltender Casey DeSmith, which is another big surprise to me. $1.8 million against the cap this year. Forward prospect Nathan Legare, and if I'm saying that incorrectly, I apologize, but somebody from Montreal. He was a third-round pick of the Penguins in 2019, and they also pick up Pittsburgh's second-round pick in 2025. In terms of being the team that helped facilitate this deal, and obviously we'll talk about what they gave up as well, Montreal did very, very well for themselves in this trade.
Like I think here, and like the crazy thing is, it's like they weren't technically mathematically needed to facilitate. Right. I think, the GM kind of jumped in there, and that's a good sign for the new management team. Or new-ish. Not super,
yeah,
but.
Kent Hughes has been the GM of this team for 1 year and 6 months. And my God, the turnaround for the Habs in that time in terms of just the sheer optimism off of the signings, the trades now. I mean, we factor in he made the big move to get Alex Newhook from the Colorado Avalanche, and we'll wait to see what happens with that. There was the acquisition of Sean Monahan, where they secured a draft pick as well for taking his contract. I mean, he's made some Kirby Doc. That trade as well was under his tenure as the GM of this team.
Was hiring Marty St. Louis as well.
Yeah.
He's killing it so far. Like, he's killing it so far. That's great. I like shitting on the Habs, but I can't. Like, he's...
Yeah, they are in such a better spot right now than I think any Habs fan thought they would be, because they went to the Cup final against Tampa, the weird one.
Yep.
And then immediately after that, shit went downhill fast. Like, the following season, they were terrible. Carey Price starts going through his personal issues as well, and it's like any sense of optimism surrounding that team disappeared fast. But they didn't wait around before getting it back on track. And, man, they've gotten it back on track in a huge, huge way. Again, Jeff Petrie, he's 35 years old at this point. He'll turn 36 during the course of the season. But that is a veteran presence on their blue line, where they have a lot of younger defenders. Caden Gooley, Jordan Harris, Arber Xhekaj, of course, could be considered amongst that crop as well. Justin Barron, they just drafted David Reinbacher. Jaden Strubl's there. Like, that is a great player to have as a veteran presence on that team for those young guys, and still a capable player at this stage. I mean, again, Jeff Petrie, it wasn't all that long ago at the start of the season, we were joking about him being a fucking Norris candidate because he got off to a really hot start in one of those seasons, but he did have 31 points in 61 games last year, so he's still capable of putting up points.
Yeah.
Casey DeSmith is the interesting one. Now, he has still not shaken an incident that happened in college. Whenever you mention the name, at least whenever I mention the name Casey DeSmith, people are always immediately bringing up, remember that this happened. And I can agree that, hey, it's probably the right thing to remember that, this happened. And for those who do not know,
I don't actually.
September 2014, he was arrested for assaulting a woman who either was or had previously been his girlfriend. He was suspended from the team after his arrest. He accepted a plea bargain in December of 2014. He pled not guilty to all charges against him, including domestic abuse, with the exception of a single count of disorderly conduct. So that is something that will always be brought up when Casey DeSmith is mentioned. So I felt like I had to do it there. But in terms of him on the ice, he has been a pretty damn solid goaltender. This past season was his lowest save percentage at a .905. Prior to that, he hadn't posted less than a .912 as a kind of backup 1B situation. And just in terms of Montreal's goaltending, because of that, you're talking about Jake Allen, Casey DeSmith, and Sam Montembeault as a trio. And that seems to be the theme lately, is goaltending trios instead of the typical tandems. And that's one of the more solid ones. I don't know. You don't have like an Igor Shesterkin in terms of the guaranteed guy, but those are three very, very solid NHL goaltenders. Legare, he's been an AHLer. We don't know. And then a second-round pick. Who knows? But, again, for a team that wasn't expected to be a part of this, I think they crushed it.
Hey, I will say, Nathan Legare, he is Quebecois. So, there you go. Montreal hits the quota. You got to have at least one Quebecois player on the lineup every night, at least an opening night. Who knows? He gets a few games in there because of that Quebecois bonus. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with what they picked up over there.
The Quebecois quota.
Yeah, it's true. Like, what is it? They freaked out like a couple years ago because they were gonna have a night where there wasn't a single Quebecois player playing for the game, and then like they have had ones playing on the roster for like the entirety of the franchise, and like fans were irate and just going absolutely nuts. And like, I get it, but like at the same time, you put out the best squad that you can.
Yeah. So thumbs up for Montreal. We move to the Pittsburgh Penguins side of this equation. Of course, team president or president of hockey ops, Kyle Dubas, who Obama memed himself by naming himself the GM of the team as well earlier in the week. They pull off this acquisition of Erik Karlsson. San Jose retains $1.5 million, meaning it will be $10 million flat against the cap for the next 4 seasons of Erik Karlsson, who again is 33 years old. They also acquire forward prospect Dylan Hamiluk, who was a second-round pick in 2019 of the Sharks, only played 6 games last season, those in the ECHL, so I'm going to guess some injury issues there. They also get a 2026 third-rounder from the Sharks, and from Montreal, they acquire forward Rem Pitlick. So from the Pittsburgh perspective, Pitlick, fringe NHLer at this stage, I think he's really shown some moments. He had 15 points in 46 games last year in the NHL, played 18 games in the AHL with 22 points. So maybe someone who is too good for the AHL, but maybe not quite good enough for the NHL, a full-time spot. We'll see. Hamiluk, who knows? Again, prospect, just like Legare. Third-round pick, we won't know for the future. The big thing is that the Penguins acquire Erik Karlsson. And we kind of knew, obviously, like Kyle Dubas' strategy is going to be, I need to win a Stanley Cup as fast as possible because Pittsburgh, the clock's ticking. You have 35-year-old Sidney Crosby, 37-year-old Evgeny Malkin, 36-year-old Chris Letang. And we talked about that, too, when Dubas went to Pittsburgh. The idea of, my God, if he wins a Stanley Cup before Toronto. And this pushes them closer to being there. Getting someone like Erik Karlsson completely changes the outlook of that team in terms of what they're going to be able to do offensively, of course, not just defensively. And right now, Cap Friendly, again, we don't know for sure, but Cap Friendly has it pegged in as their defense of Ryan Graves with Erik Karlsson, Marcus Pettersson with Chris Letang, and P.O. Joseph with Chad Ruedel.
That top four is really good. I really wanted Marcus Pettersson.
Yeah, the fact you get to push Letang down, and he's playing with Pettersson, like you were saying, and I'm sorry that I interrupted, but someone that, hey, you would have been all right with seeing come back in the deal is really good.
Yes.
It's just kind of crazy that it finally happened. And obviously, like, we'll talk about this from the Sharks' perspective the most, but it is that thing of just, all right, Pittsburgh gets Erik Karlsson, and is it going to be worth the risk? I think inherently it's worth the risk. Yeah. Or for them. I mean,
with their situation, hell yeah. Like, you gotta throw everything that you can at it.
Yeah.
Like, their window is closing quickly. You have to go for it while you can.
And I think they're in a decent spot to do it. I mean, again, goaltending right now is shaping up to be Jari and Nedeljkovic. It's still a team with, Gensel, Crosby, Ross, Malkin, Raquel. They brought in Riley Smith right after the Stanley Cup final. And now, again, you add Erik Karlsson, 101 points last season as a defenseman, the reigning Norris winner.
20 goals too, right?
25 goals.
Yeah, he was like the only one who could do shit on the Sharks.
Well, that's the thing I was going to mention, right? Is the idea of when he only puts up 75 points, the articles are going to be incendiary. And that's bullshit. Because he's going to be playing with a lot more talent, and there's going to be less puck to go around than there was in San Jose this past season.
Yeah, but he's going to be quarterbacking that top power play too. And my goodness, he is good at that.
I mean, again, like you're talking about a power play. I mean, Jesus, do you stack and go like Crosby, Malkin, like Karlsson and Letang could each quarterback their own power play. So I'm going to be really intrigued.
Because when we tried putting Burns and Karlsson together on the power play, it wasn't great.
Yeah. Trying to look up last season. I got to go to Hockey Reference really quickly here. But, I'm just trying to think last season and how it will transfer over to this season, especially from Pittsburgh's perspective. I was going to look up their power play percentage because if I am not mistaken, I recall a lot of people saying that Pittsburgh's power play was maybe a little bit off last season, but maybe I'm confusing that with the prior season. The Pittsburgh Penguins last season had an outside top 10 power play, 21.72%, just below the New Jersey Devils, just above the Minnesota Wild, so it wasn't that bad. Obviously, I'm intrigued to see, Ryan Graves was a big signing for them too. How much heavy lifting does he do from the defensive standpoint? With Erik Karlsson, I mean, Erik Karlsson's going to be assigned the role of rover. Like, you are the fourth forward when you're on the ice.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I like this deal for Pittsburgh a lot. It is that idea of they had to go for it, and as we'll talk about, maybe they didn't have to give up the most to get it done, but it's also not that surprising given what San Jose wanted from this deal, and we'll go over to that. So far, thumbs up from Montreal, it's a thumbs up from Pittsburgh. The San Jose Sharks, from Montreal, reacquire franchise legend Mike Hoffman, who makes $4.5 million against the cap for this upcoming season. He is, God, how old is Mike Hoffman at this point? 33. Will turn 34 in the midst of the season. From the Pittsburgh Penguins, they acquire forward Mikael Granlund, who is 31 years old and making $5 million against the cap both this year and next. They also get Jan Ruda from Pittsburgh, making $2.75 million this year and next. And then the biggest piece of the trade, a first-round pick in 2024 from Pittsburgh, but it's a conditional pick. It is top 10 protected, which I don't think the Penguins are going to finish bottom 10 or get a top 10 lottery pick this year. There's a chance, but... So you look at the return on this, and I know a lot of people are being like, man, only one pick? Man, no big prospect from either team. But essentially what this is what we saw with Arizona moving Oliver Ekman-Larsson to Vancouver and taking on Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle, I forget the third, and knowing that those guys...
Roussel.
It was Antoine Roussel. There you go. And knowing that those deals, for Arizona, they expired that following season. Obviously, for the Sharks, Granlund and Ruda will take an extra year. But it's that idea of you get out from underneath the Erik Karlsson contract. You'll have money to spend sooner. These assets that you picked up are easier to move. You'll be able to retain salary on someone like Mike Hoffman this upcoming season. Right. And it's the idea of you only retained $1.5 million in Erik Karlsson. Like, that is the idea, as they moved out $10 million worth of that cap hit. So they might not have gotten as much back, but they also didn't have to retain as much, and that is clearly what they were looking to do.
Yeah, I think it's pretty smart. In that sense, if you only retain, you moved out 10 mil. Yes, you took back some, but the interest now is that, okay, how, Hoffman probably flippable at the deadline. Mm-hmm. And then you're hoping Granlund bounces back and maybe has interest in people over the offseason to trade him, maybe at the draft or something like that, or maybe you have to hold on and then try to deadline him as well. Ruda, multiple Stanley Cup winner. He's a guy that teams are going to look to want to add. Everyone wants to add on the blue line. Maybe the Leafs will do it. They're obsessed with the blue line right now. So maybe they'll want Jan Ruda. Like I said, he's got the extra year, but you've essentially given yourself 3 different pieces that you could probably flip for prospects or picks. So like in the aggregate, you still got prospects and picks. It's just you have to wait for them to kind of kick in a sense. So, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, God damn it. Why do you let them top 10 protect the first rounder? But if the Penguins suck and that pick becomes top 10, it'll get bounced back to next season. No
protection on it.
No protection. And if Pittsburgh sucks this year, odds are they're going to be potentially worse next year. So like you both ways kind of looks decent. So yeah, like the initial like it's like like the Timo Meier thing. It's like was that really the best we could do? But I think freeing up the 10 mil cap space in the future, you can weaponize that cap space. We have 1 retention slot. You can probably use it to retain half of Hoffman and ship him out this season at the deadline. Make him a cheap ass option for a competitive team. You can probably, with the retention, you should get it like at least a second for that. And for Ruda and Granlund, Ruda would be, I think wanted by a lot of teams next season. Granlund depends on how he performs, but at this point, yeah, you're weaponizing your cap space. I think that's going to be the Sharks for the next 2 to 3 years, weaponizing their cap space, drafting heavy, getting prospects, and trying to turn this around as quickly as possible. Honestly, I really like what Mike Greer's doing, and I know a lot of people, because everyone likes to react to a trade immediately. Oh, Sharks got fleeced. Penguins fleeced the Sharks. It's like, I think every team got what they needed.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of those occasions where every single team got exactly what they needed for what they're trying to do.
I think every team's a winner. Every team's a winner in this one. I think this is out of the past couple years, this is the most evenly split off trade, because San Jose, they're not looking to win. They're looking to build up picks. Pittsburgh has to go all in, and then Montreal is trying to find an identity and something to lean off of, because they're not going to get Carey Price back in that, so they're basically trying to find some sort of common ground over there. So they get the Smith, and they get another Quebecois guy over there too. So honestly, very, very even across all the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys nailed it. I mean, every trade is one that people immediately try to decide a winner, and I always go into the spiel of look, it's the outlook of the trade and who you think wins can change and will change over the next year, over the next 3 years, over the next 5. Yeah. This one especially, Montreal with that 2nd round pick, who knows who they land? Pittsburgh with that 3rd round pick, who knows? And if Pittsburgh wins a cup, who gives a shit what you gave up? Even if they don't win a cup, they went for it, and they had to. It was smart. For San Jose, all of these, number 1, there's that 1st round pick, which you never know.
We got Quentin Musty in the 20s, and he looked really fucking good at the Hlinka thing.
Yep. It's one of those things where, you always talk about trade trees. This is going to be a big one, especially if the Sharks, who, by the way, pending UFAs after this upcoming season, so these are prime options to trade. Kevin Labanc, Mike Hoffman, Anthony Duclair, Alex Barabanov, Oscar Lindblom, Radim Shimmick, Jacob McDonald, Kaapo Kähkönen in goal. All UFAs at the end of this upcoming season. Now, I'm not sitting here saying you're going to get this amazing haul on paper for all of these guys, but we did talk about the offense that Erik Karlsson provided. No one should be surprised if Mike Hoffman or Mikael Granlund put up significantly more points this year in San Jose than they would have on their respective teams last year in, you could say lesser roles. I mean, Granlund had, I think both Hoffman and Granlund had about 30, 40 points the past season. Granlund in particular, Pittsburgh, was dreadful. He had 5 points in 21 games.
Yeah, he's bad.
It's just one of those things where right now, if you had to declare a winner, I think you have to go from the perspective of who landed the best player, and that is the Pittsburgh Penguins. But again, I don't think a winner inherently means that a team lost. I don't think you can fairly say any of these teams lost. And again,
no, they all got what they're looking for.
Yep,
5 years from now, this trade's going to look different.
Yeah.
So I get the idea why some Sharks fans would be like, Jesus, we traded Timo Meier. Oh, look at what we gave up for Karlsson in the first place. But, you know, you look back at that Erik Karlsson trade. We go all the way back to September 13th.
Which everyone was like, oh my God, the Sharks fleeced the Sens the first year. And then the next year, the narrative changed as if no one ever said the Sharks fleeced the Sens, and it was the Sens fleeced the Sharks. Like,
right.
It's...
Exactly.
And you can go back and look at tweets and everything.
So, fun fact.
That existed.
Cap Friendly has a discuss this trade option. September 13th, 2018. Ha 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 ha. How does Wilson keep doing this? All caps. The picks are all conditional. How did Ottawa not at least get Merkley out of this?
Yeah, I'll give you Merkley if you give us fucking Norris back. Would love that.
Winner, loser, this is a no-brainer. What is the condition? If Melnyk leaves, they get the picks and this clown show can finally end. The Sharks blue line now. Sweet Jesus.
Oh, about Melnyk, huh?
Let's see. Condition from one of the first. If Karlsson plays for an Eastern Conference team, Ottawa gets another first. Pathetic. Dorian's a fucking idiot. No Merkley, no Meier, no LeBanc. They got a third-line center, a college player who would choose not to sign there in a few picks. Yeesh. Hard to say the Sharks aren't clear winners here. Let's see. What else do we got? I think you guys get the... Whoever voted fair deal has to be a delusional Sens fan. Embarrassing for Ottawa. What an atrocious deal for Ottawa. If there's no extension, this is a farcical return for Ottawa's franchise player. I genuinely feel bad for Sens fans at this point. Their franchise is one gigantic tire fire. All of these posts are from the day of the trade.
Yeah,
none of these are with the power of hindsight.
I feel so vindicated, like, because the narrative has been since then. The Senators, is a masterclass, completely ripped off the Sharks because we got Stützle out of it. Like, even like, again, you have to look at what that pick was at the time. No one fucking expected it to turn into Stützle. No. It was a Murphy's Law of a season for the Sharks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, dude, seriously, like, a Sens fan, this is franchise-altering. Dorian whiffed on it. Another Sens fan, I'm sad there's no excitement at all for the upcoming year. One person, can't wait to see how Dorian handles trading Duchesne and Stone. They were right that those would go down. This will go down as maybe the worst trade of all time. How do you get less for Karlsson than what you gave up for Duchesne? Pacioretty got a better return. Lol. Like, again, these are all from that day. And now, like Sin said, we look back at this trade, and it's, oh my God, the Sharks fucked up. That is the whole point. This will change. The opinions on today's deal, Karlsson to Pittsburgh, will change because, again, we talked about the trade, talking about what it was. It was Erik Karlsson and forward Francis Perron for Dylan DeMello, Chris Tierney, Rudolph Balcers, the signing rights to Josh Norris, which, again, you saw someone post there. There was concern that Josh Norris would not sign with Ottawa after spending time at the University of Michigan in his sophomore year. And then is where it turns around. They got a second-round pick that became, or there was a second-round pick involved that became Zach Ostapchuk, another pick involved that became forward Jamison Reese, but the big one is Tim Stützle. Yeah. And I don't think anybody thought Tim Stützle would be this good. He was the third overall pick in 2020. I don't think anybody could have predicted his third season in the NHL. He'd have 90 points in 78 games with 39 goals.
Ottawa.
On Ottawa.
On Ottawa. Again.
And then you had Norris, who scored fucking... Wasn't he on pace for like 40 before he got injured? Like,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So he got hurt at the beginning of this past season. He only played 8 games this past season.
Then it must have been the season before that where he did pretty good.
Before, he had 55 points in 65 games with 35 goals.
Yeah.
So would have cleared 40, no problem.
Jeez. Give that guy the puck. Holy.
And we can go back on elite prospects because they keep up where players were ranked. Tim Stützle was a guy that people were just like, oh yeah, no, this is a consensus second, third overall pick. I'm not saying he was an out of nowhere pick, but the idea that he is that good at such a young age, and we see it now. I know Jay Fresh has been doing his fan vote redrafts. Tim Stutzel was top of the board for 2020, and no shit. But how many people would have said that? After Lafreniere went first overall, Quentin Byfield second.
Yeah.
It's tough to say, but yeah, I mean, there's no doubt it worked out tremendously for Ottawa. San Jose at the time, the goal was we're trying to stay competitive. We made the cup final.
It's what Pittsburgh's is. Right
Literally,
now.
they are in the exact same spot, the Pittsburgh Penguins, as the Sharks are right now, where we are trying to hold off on this rebuild for as long as possible. Because at the time, if I'm not mistaken, was Patrick Marleau still there? Because Thornton was.
Thornton was still
in September of 2018. Was Marleau a Leaf yet or a Penguin?
Yeah, I think he was, because he went in he
was a Leaf
17 and then played 2 years of his 3 years and was traded to Carolina, then bought out, and then we brought him back to break the games played record.
Yeah, so I mean, this is,
or did he go to Pittsburgh in between?
He went to Pittsburgh in between.
Okay, yeah,
I think something like that. But you look at it's the 2018-19 San Jose Sharks, and they needed Erik Karlsson. They did. You had Brent Burns on defense already. Vlasic was getting older. They had Brendan Dillon, Justin Braun. It's very similar to Pittsburgh's defense right now. Chris Letang equals Brent Burns. You have some of these other guys in the mix. Those situations are so similar where San Jose was trying to hold on. You had Thornton. You had Evander Kane, Joe Pavelski, Timo Meier, Couture, Tomas Hertl. It was the idea of let's push. Let's not be done. We got to keep going for it. It didn't work out, but I do think now ending the Erik Karlsson era, ultimately I think they did okay on the return. And, we'll see. Much like we talked about with this trade of who won the trade, you can go back. Like I said, you look at Erik Karlsson's player profile on Cap Friendly. There is a little blue button that says trade history. And then next to the date from that Senators trade, you can click and it's discuss trade, and it's there. It's the proof is in the pudding of what the thoughts were behind that Karlsson trade when it first happened. And now 5 years later, people feel differently about it. I don't think Sharks fans need to be overly upset because granted, with hindsight, the alternative was 2018, they give up. 2 years after making the cup final, they give up. And they go scorched earth into a rebuild. And you would always be left with the question of, fuck, what if they went for it?
Yeah.
And I can tell you, as a Bruins fan, especially from 2013, 2019, this year, it is much better to at least know that they went for it and failed, instead of having the questions of, God, if they went for it, they might have done it. It's so much better to at least know that your team fucking tried to win, even if it didn't work out. Also, my favorite comment, how can you be this bad? Thank God Montreal has Bergevin and not this clown.
Oh my God.
It's amazing, dude. It's just, see how quickly landscape and narrative shifts. Good talk,
Goodness.
though.
Good
Wild.
talk. So, again, I think they all did very, very well for themselves, but we'll see how we feel in a year, 5 years especially, now that we're looking back at Karlsson to the Sharks 5 years later. A couple other quick things I wanted to talk about really quickly for some levity. This comes from Andy and Rono. In an interview with Dinik Sports, Radko Gudas said that he received offers from Calgary, Edmonton, and Toronto, but didn't want to play in Canada, especially in Toronto. He said the media pressure in the playoffs is crazy. He felt it even though he played for Florida and not the Leafs. So in case anyone needed a reminder, of course, that yes, in fact, players are just like, I'm not dealing with that media circus. That's a real thing, but Jesus, could you imagine if Radko Gudas and Joseph Wall were teammates after that picture?
It would be great. It'd be tremendous. I think there'd be so much cool stuff. They'd probably recreate it in a funny way of I think, if the Leafs, I don't know. I think the Leafs, Radko Gudas could have been decent, but I would have just liked to see it for the memes.
Yeah, didn't Radko Gudas' information get doxed after game 2 of the Leaf game? I believe
Something like
series.
that. Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
the Panthers at some point had a fucking bomb scare at an arena or some shit like that.
Yep.
So
The physical for the article from Hockey Feed, the bomb threat sent to Radko Gudas' home after Game 2.
Jesus.
The physical Florida Panthers defenseman was on the receiving end of death threats after his team won Game 2 this weekend. Yeah, I wouldn't want to play in Toronto either after someone puts a fucking bomb threat at your house.
Where did Gouda sign then? I completely...
Anaheim.
Shit.
No one
knows
knows
now,
where the
now I
fuck
gotta
you
now I gotta deal with his ass. Don't you dare scream in Makiniemi's face. That man is a Finnish treasure.
Sin, you have an opportunity to do one of the funniest things of all time.
What?
Nothing. Never mind.
Yeah, sorry. I know a meme, but I didn't know what you were implying by it. So sorry. Are you saying I should dox him or threaten him with bombs?
No.
Okay.
No.
bomb scare for the win.
You know, works for the kids, works for the adults.
Well, speaking of Anaheim, then, really quickly, just to talk about a couple of signings before we wrap up the show. Anaheim Ducks and Troy Terry have agreed to a 7-year deal worth $7 million per. He is 25 years old. He'll turn 26 before the start of the season and is coming off of back-to-back 60-point seasons on the Ducks. Again, it's not the most controversial take in the world. I think it's a good signing for them. It's one that they needed to make. The big question now.
They avoided arbitration by doing this, correct?
Yes. Originally, they were going to go to arbitration.
So that's good, because then you don't damage relations with the players. I think going to arbitration really would put a strain on the relationship between the team and the player. Like, it's just, I don't think it's great.
Yeah, so there was an arbitration. I'm trying to find the numbers here. So there was an arbitration filing on August 2nd, but they settled prior to the hearing, as most cases do, to be honest. Out of all of the RFAs, and there are numerous, like Alex DeBrinket's settled prior to hearing. One of the few that actually, honored the arbitration verdict, Jeremy Swayman in Boston. And you had Ilya Samsonov as well. Like, there are very few that actually end up going to arbitration. Troy Terry, I can't find the number here, and I hate it. But there was a large discrepancy, like at least $3 million between what player was looking for and what team was looking for.
It was like 4.5 and like 8 or 9, I think, is what you said last podcast when we did it, or whenever we talked about it last.
The Ducks have $20 million in cap space. They still have to sign RFAs Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale, so they are not quite done yet. But I do think holding on to Troy Terry was a very good decision for them.
I think Zegras should be a winger.
He's played left wing a little bit. Cap Friendly has it right now as Henrique Zegras Terry potentially as their top line.
I think it should be Zegras Terry Henrique.
I was gonna go Zegras Henrique Terry, but
what am I talking about? Henrique is a centerman.
Yeah, Adam Henrique is your top center. Maybe not the most attractive thing in the world, but if you were to ask me, like, oh, would you take Adam Henrique on the Bruins? Like, yes, this instant. Like, especially with the Bruins, like, oh, it's Charlie Coyle or Pavel Zacha.
I think it's a good line.
Yeah,
like you got Zegras and Terry skill guys, and Henrique is like the Hyman, the Zach Hyman. Not the Hyman.
Today as well, the Arizona Coyotes signed defenseman Matt Dumbo, 1-year deal worth $3.9 million. Of course, he is no longer with.
Is he number 39?
For the worst statistical season of his career.
Oof.
So
Red Deal's Rebel legend.
Yes, indeed. So former 7th overall pick in 2012. He was, immediately after him was Derek Pouliot and Jacob Trumba. Oh, Trumba. So, I like Matt Dumba, and I hope it goes well for him in Arizona. They're another team. Arizona, by the way, only $3.9 million in cap space. they've spent money this offseason.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll make them a significantly better team, but they have spent money. And technically, LTIR hasn't kicked in yet. The joke is, everybody, they have a lot of dead cap. Gentlemen, do you want to guess how much money? And now, granted, it might not be this exact amount. Oh my god. So I'll just read it off verbatim. So for this upcoming season, listed on IR is Jacob Voracek, Shea Weber, boy,
let me tell you.
Brian Little, Travis Dermott, who I imagine will play. He's only making $800K against the cap.
Okay.
So amongst those three listed on IR, presumably Voracek, Weber, and Little are all going right back to LTIR. They're not going to play this year. That is $21.4 million worth of LTIR cap.
What?
So they're still gonna have to sign people, right?
Potentially. Well, no, because they're technically at the cap floor with LTIR, aren't they?
Oh, I thought. Well, if you said
I'm not sure if it pushes them back or not. But
if you said, I thought you meant they had 3.9 mil of cap, not counting the LTIR yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so when those guys go on LTIR, that frees up all that cap space, right? The cap hit.
Yeah,
so
but who the hell are they going to bring in to get over the cap?
if you subtract 20 plus mil from that, then they're under the floor.
You would
Correct.
think, and they also have almost $2 million in dead cap from the Zach Cassian and Patrick Nemeth buyout, and they're still spending $20,000 on Oliver Ekman-Larsson this year.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
they have to get back some kind of cap, I think, just to be at the floor. Unless they're going to play one of those other guys, but yeah.
I can't wait for them to sign Patrick Kane to $15 million like it's franchise mode.
Oh my god! I hope they do. 1 year deal for $15 million. Make them
someone
play
like
in that
Thomas
tiny
Tatar.
stadium.
Yeah. They renamed the Sun, whatever the fuck. I like Mullet Arena.
Mullet Arena's a good one. The final signing, maybe the most controversial of them all, Tom Wilson, who is under contract this year under his previous deal, $5.166 million against the cap, signs a 7-year extension worth $6.5 million that kicks in after this upcoming season.
Yeah.
Holy balls. So this will take him basically to age 37, I believe.
David Clarkson!
Oh my god.
I can't add too much that hasn't already been said. The equivalent that I saw, and I'm so sorry, I don't remember who said it. The power forward in the NHL is the NFL's equivalent of the running back.
Yeah.
They just don't last. You get those good prime years, but man, that play style, you get chewed up and spit out, and it's just not a good idea to sign someone for that long and to that much term. Good for Tom Wilson, good for his agent. I don't see how this works out positively for the Caps, even if it's like, well, he'll be the next captain after Ovechkin. It's like, yeah, he will be, because that's an albatross of a contract that no one's going to take.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like they're just going to be like, let's keep the team as good as we can for Ovi while he's here. I guess that's the thought. Like, I don't... Hey, man, like, you know what? They won a cup also. Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, the guys, who the fuck cares? I don't know. I don't think it's... How old is Wilson right now? What, 28, 29?
29.
Yeah, so... It's not going to be great. And it might even be overpaid the second the contract kicks in.
Yeah. It's as kind of ridiculous as that is. Yeah. Odd. So, Tom Wilson, staying in Washington right along.
Tom Hanks. Funny guy, Tom Hanks. Everything he says is a stick.
I am still reading some of these responses. I don't think anything tops, thank God Montreal has Bergevin and not Pierre Dorian. That's
so good.
That is an all-time return. But with that, gentlemen, we will look to wind things down. Again, I do recommend everybody look through these forum posts from the time. This trade is an absolute disgrace for Ottawa. There's a lot of stuff. If you ever feel like your team isn't going anywhere, Just be thankful you're not a Sens fan. God. I can't help but wonder how long it'll be until Dorian rips open his shirt to reveal a Sharks jersey. Little did they know. Timmy Stützle will be on his way. With that, gentlemen, we'll look to wind things down. Endo Mills, what do you have going on?
Nothing. Moving. If I stream, I stream. If I make a video, I make a video. I actually downloaded the Friendo Fight Night stuff while we were doing the podcast, so hopefully I work on that. I don't know when that's going to be done, if ever. So, that's basically me. My main thing is blowing up and then act like I don't know nobody. Hi.
And then you'll blow up. Sim,
Yes.
what do you got going on?
Well, now that I have my new computer and I can actually record NHL again, I'm finally starting my new franchise mode. The one that was going to start like a week ago, and then I kept getting dropped frames and stuff on my old computer. So finally, probably tomorrow, Monday, the 7th, is when the new series will start.
Do you have the first episode recorded?
No.
Good. Wait until I put out a roster update tonight with Karlsson on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I never use your rosters, but I think I might this time. I think I might for this, what I'm doing, because I was just going to move them and do that stuff. But yeah, if you're going to put one out, I'll download it, because I'm not doing member rosters for this.
Fair enough. I don't blame you for not using mine, because obviously they can end up with some results that are interesting because of how franchise mode plays out.
The only reason I really don't is because I have Snipe do my member, like when I do the member franchise, he does the member rosters, and I just figure it's easier to use the default rosters, and because he balances, I'm sure with like his own or default rosters.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I actually was planning on putting out one more little roster update video now that trade finally happened. It's probably my last one.
Text me when it's up, and I'll download it.
I will. And with that, everybody, there is plenty of content still going up on the YouTube side of things. Who knows? Maybe I'll stream from my phone at the airport at 7 in the morning when I'm bored and stressed. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we will be back next week. Now that the NHL offseason has really hit the doldrums. This trade was the last big thing we had to look forward to. And now it's going to be a whole bunch of nothing for the next month and a half until training camp and preseason and all that fun stuff. But with that, thank you as always for supporting the show. We will see you very soon. Manscaped.com, code Tougie. Goodbye.